Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Postgame Show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson, the host of the CHGO White Sox podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the podcast at CHGO_White Sox. That's Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. That's Lawrence backwards. I'm in 23 for Robin Ventura. Vinnie Duber will be joining us live from the ballpark in 20, 25, 30 minutes maybe here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show. And we got all of you lovely people hanging out with us in the chat. And while you are commenting away, make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to CHGO as well, and make sure you're hitting the subscribe in those podcast feeds, Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well, just because, again, we're going to be here after every single game. 9 straight shows for you. This is capping off 9 straight shows. Herb's going to go take a little trip, refresh, but we've been at it, and the White Sox need a break, huh?
Yeah, but the weird thing, like, we've been 9 straight games with the White Sox. I'm going on the road to watch a White Sox game or 3. So we're going to Pittsburgh. So, you know, I'm a glutton for punishment, as they call it.
I was about to say, do you regret the choice? We are coming to you live after a White Sox loser. And oh boy, did they lose. 16-6. Woof.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. We're in Studio B, which I actually prefer over Studio A. Don't tell everybody else. Because we're bad. We got relegated to Studio B because
B stands for bad.
They're like, no, y'all can't be in our main studio. The White Sox suck, so y'all suck. Get in Studio B. Actually, I love Studio B. It's cozy. Yeah. You can see the 312 right here, as my mom would call it. 312.
I like that it's 3:12 tomorrow, start time for Sox Pirates.
Weirdly enough, Pittsburgh set it up both for them and us. I think the area code for Pittsburgh is 412. So local time 412. For us, 312.
Yeah.
So enjoy a lovely 312, as the Goose Island people call it. Or if you're like my mom, 312.
It seems like the people need a 312 because the comments are tight. We got someone saying Lance Lynn's the new Dallas Keuchel. But I do want to go to a comment from our guy Wayne. He's saying another batting practice section, which is true. Chris, I think, is making a good point. Got a tip of the hat to the Giants for scouting here. Seeing the clear tipping from Michael Kopech where the White Sox seem to make changes. And I think Lance Lynn, just might have been running into some dead arm at this point. But, man, they were all over him. But I want to go to Wayne real quick. Wayne mentioned something about, we have confidence in this team, but they still have to prove it. And I can't lie. After the first 4 games, I feel like I kind of lost that. Like, this team still needs to prove it to us. And, boy, was this series proof of that.
Yeah, and when you're looking as a White Sox fan, after you have that, what we termed successful series out there in Houston, we split versus them. You looked better than the reigning world champions. You come back into this series, and maybe you're not thinking that the Giants are also ran. They won 107 games just 2 years ago, so they're a formidable task. But you're looking at Anthony Discalfini. You're looking at their good pitcher Logan Webb, and then you got Alex Wood on the bump. You're like, all right, 2 out of 3 sounds good. Let's eat. Let's fork and knife. Let's eat. No, sir. The Giants pitched very well in this series, and they hit even better. And the White Sox, for their part, not only gave up a bunch of home runs, but they allowed people to get in front of them with, I think it was 18 walks in this series, at least, to the Giants hitters. That is not a recipe for success. While the White Sox, I think, only walked 8 times themselves and only hit 1 home run, and that was Luis Roberts' home run on Monday in the home opener late in the game. So they got outclassed by a team that we would have thought was either at the same level, which they finished 81-81 last year, or a little bit below. So it was an embarrassing series for the White Sox. I hope they take this to heart. I hope they feel it. They should feel it, because getting blown out twice in a short series at the crib is not the way to instill confidence in your fan base. And yeah, it's a bad series, but I think it's just that, a bad series. But the White Sox need to take this to heart and say, we can't just throw our jocks out there and let the wins happen. We got to actually perform.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, this is a team the White Sox handled last year. Even though they went 81-81, the White Sox went to AT&T Park July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, win, and win. Yep. The last one was 13-4, an ass whooping of its own right. But someone mentioned the home run differential as well. I think you mentioned it, but why not hammer the point home? 13 home runs for the Giants in this series, the most at Comiskey Park 2, guaranteed rate, U.S. Cellular, by any team in a 3-game series. So that's history, folks. My guy who is trying to hit us up in trying to see if we were at the game, I want to now give him credit.
Duke?
No, it wasn't Duke. Ryan, right? Yeah, Ryan was saying, oh, are you guys at the game? You know, looking forward to see you. And then by 4 o'clock, he messaged me back and says, I hate it here. So appreciate you, Ryan. It sucked. It was a horrible game. And I mean, even the Kopech game was atrocious. An ass whooping of epic proportions. This is the most they've given up in a 3-game series, and it's not really close in this park's history. Next closest, I believe, is 10, and they've done that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different times, most recently twice in 2019, to the Royals and the Mariners.
Before I keep on crapping on the White Sox, and they deserve it for this pitiful performance they had this whole series, got to give credit, and I think you did earlier, to the Giants for actually doing the job, kicking some major ass out there. They were just on everybody. And remember, yesterday, when we were talking about Dylan Cease, that, to me, that pitching performance by Dylan Cease stands out even more now that you see the Giants extend on Michael Kopech and crush Lance Lynn and company today. For Dylan Cease to only give up 1 run on the home run by J.D. Davis, and that was the only hit, it's got to be a performance that you got to look back and say, man, maybe the Giants are really good, and Dylan Cease is a top-of-the-league pitcher because he only gave up 1 run to that effing juggernaut, even though they just went to New York and got beat 2 out of 3.
Well, and I mean, credit to the Giants hitters. These guys, as you mentioned, 18 walks, extremely patient. They seem to be looking for their pitch, and when they got it, when they got fastballs, they did damage. Someone asked in the chat, why were we so bad? I mean, they just gave them a lot of pitches to hit.
Yeah.
They threw a lot of balls over the plate, a lot of fastballs that just hung. Lance Lynn gave a lot of pitches just directly in the middle of the plate. His velocity was down as well. The stuff wasn't there. I don't know if, I started thinking, maybe there's a bug going around. If Dylan's sick, then maybe Lance Lynn is sick. I also think, too, the World Baseball Classic might be taking a toll right here. This just might be some dead arm. This just could be some fatigue for Lance Lynn because he's thrown so much already. I don't know if that's true, but it could just be dead arm period because you look at the stuff stat, and Sarah, when you get a chance, can we flash that, the Lynn stuff graphic? You kind of similar story to Dylan Cease yesterday. No, that was it. You got it. Right there. So pitch velocity was down 1.7 miles per hour. Cutter was down about 0.5 mile, 0.5 mile per hour. The curveball was down 2.5 miles per hour. Changeup was down 1.5 mile per hour. The slider was down 1 mile or so, and the sinker was down 1.2 miles per hour. So he was just losing velocity, he was losing effect, and he was trying to pick around the corners, and sometimes he was able to do it. Sometimes he just missed the zone completely with all the walks, and sometimes they just hung. So it wasn't his best stuff out there. I'm not too worried about Lance Lynn. If there's anybody, I think, in the White Sox rotation that has earned that kind of cred and that kind of rope, Lance Lynn is that guy, but we'll see. We have 2 super chats here, so why don't we knock those out? One of them from Husky Bardo. Glad I got the first game out of the way. This team is trash and doesn't deserve our money. All they are our 500 team. Makes me sick. Appreciate the super chat, Husky Bardo. And then Jeffrey saying Lynn had to shove. If he didn't, they weren't going to win. Not with Aloy Yo-Yo. Yaz and with Benintendi's glove lately. It's simple. I'm not worried. I don't know if I'm worried, but again, like, I picked this team to win 83 games. They seem like an 83-win game team, or an 83-win team.
Yeah, it was a performance that wasn't of them. And the thing that we had on, what was it, yesterday when Dylan Cease was out there in the fifth inning needing a strikeout of Jock Peterson, he got it. Struck Jock Peterson out, gave this team a chance to win. They went into that bottom of the fifth with the lead and won that game and extended the lead, actually. That same scenario kind of came up in the fifth inning today with Lance Lynn, and he failed. There was a needed high velocity fastball up at the top of the zone. He put it middle, and Jock Peterson just absolutely torched that ball to give Lance his 7th and 8th runs of the afternoon. Right there, you get him out 6-3. Not great, but actually within striking distance. I think once that pitch was rocked, every White Sox fan was like, ugh, that's it. I mean, 5 runs is going to be a tough task for this, especially they're not laying off of Jeff Junis's or Jacob Junis's slider. It's going to be all she wrote right there. And so that's the difference right there you see between the two pitchers executing the pitches versus that specific batter in Jock Peterson, and they'll make you pay for it each time. And that's a good hitting Giants team that didn't miss any of the mistakes, while the White Sox, they got hanging slider after hanging slider after hanging slider. Sometimes they didn't swing at it. Sometimes they did with Hanzo Alberto and just pop it up out of bounds. And then when they're swinging at balls in the dirt or about to hit them. So those are the differences in this series where the White Sox didn't take care of the advantages or the mistakes by the Giants, while the Giants took advantage of every mistake by the White Sox.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, I mean, you can go to game 1, and Chris brings up our plate discipline sucks. We'd love to go green light on 2-0, 3-0, and, you know, we see Andrew Vaughn kind of expecting a gift against Anthony DeScalfani and then getting himself into trouble by saying bad and naughty words. You know, they could be a team that could just start walking more and hopefully put more pressure on teams. That's what we were hoping. We saw that a lot in 2021. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And it seemed like they learned. Like, it seemed like Tim had a difficult at-bat against Junis, and then Robert came up, and it seemed like his at-bat was a little bit better, and then Vaughn came in, and he ultimately drove in a run. So, you know, that was nice progression there, but it's not enough. I mean, Alex Wood, too, he only went 3 innings, right? So they got to the starting pitcher today. You can flash that graphic, Sarah. That's perfect right now. 3 innings pitched for Alex Wood, 1 earned run, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks. I wouldn't say he was dominant. You were right, though, about his extension. He did look healthy today, and that stuff looked nice. That 92, it looked like a very, very sharp and get-on-you 92, right? It seemed really, really effective today. But still, nothing that I didn't think the White Sox couldn't handle. And, you know, they knocked him out by the 3rd inning. So I liked the hitting today. The hitting really wasn't the issue. You score 6 runs. You know, Lance Lynn going 4 1/3, 8 earned runs, 9 hits, 3 walks, 5 Ks. That won't do it.
That doesn't play at all. And the Giants, I think in their long history, this is their tied for the record for the most home runs they've hit in a 3-game set with 13. I believe that's correct. Either set the record or tied with it. So
they tied the record for their franchise in a 3-game series, and since 1991, since this new park opened, this is the most home runs the White Sox have given up in a 3-game span. And that is not even just a single 3-game series. I mean, the most they've given up in a 3-game span was 11. So they just smashed that record right here with 13. So very ugly.
No, and I get Blake Name saying the Giants are terrible. They're not terrible. The lineup is not terrible. They work pitches. They work counts. They work starting pitchers. That's what they did to Dylan Cease. They're like, hey, if Dylan Cease is going to be that Dylan Cease of 2022, we're going to let him walk everybody they want to. And the pitches that he's going to be throwing, the slider, we're not going to be offering at that. And so Dylan Cease can leave after 5. And the same thing with Lance Lynn. He was leaving balls fat in the middle of the plate. And tell me that's a bad team that deposits those balls for 435 feet. You got a catcher in Blake Sable, did not miss a stitch of that Lance Lynn fastball. So maybe we are underestimating these guys in the Giants, and maybe the Giants know how to get guys ready for Major League Baseball, because did we expect them to win 107 games 2 years ago? No.
No, right.
The Giants may be better than we expect, but yeah, there's no excuse. Well, the White Sox played poorly. As Vinnie likes to say, 2 things can be true at the same time. The White Sox played absolutely disgustingly horrible today and Monday, and the Giants took advantage of that and looked like world beaters today.
There is a great piece on Baseball Prospectus back from 2021, kind of talking how the Giants tailored their lineup to the specific fastball of that starting pitcher, and they look for certain guys with swing planes that line up to guys that are, sinker ball heavy or cutter heavy. Like, they really like Jock's swing plane. They really like Conforto's swing plane. That's why those guys are on the team. Wilmer Flores as well, who hit a home run today. They like that swing plane. They are a very, very smart organization. They are able to get the most out of their pitchers as well. And in that park, they could be extremely dangerous, AT&T, just because, that is a pitcher haven park. So they are a very smart organization. It doesn't surprise me that this smart organization killed fastballs. In this day and age, you have to kill fastballs, and that's what we were talking about all offseason with the White Sox. Look at how many we can flash the graphics there of Lance Lynn fastballs in play. You flashed it. No, not that one. Nope, one more. Yeah, there you go. Here are all the fastballs they hit. Whew, those look like pretty good pitches to hit. Those are a lot in the middle. I think those are about 7 that are directly in the middle right there, and about 5 that are below the zone. The one that was out of the zone that he got a guy to pop up in the infield was perfect. Bases loaded. Lance Lynn threw a great pitch on that one, but outside of that, when he threw it in the zone and when he left it middle, they made him pay. And and the White Sox. I don't see the White Sox do that enough. And that's the thing is, like, when have we ever heard the White Sox about tipping? People are bringing up Kopech tipping. I don't think Lynn was tipping today, but his stuff was down, and they made him pay. They jumped all over it.
Yeah, and as I saw Blank Name wrote, like, which player on this team, on the Giants team, would you like to trade for? Sean, you want to answer that one? Which player on the Giants would you like to have on the White Sox?
So I actually made a trade, Gavin Sheets, Jimmy Lambert, and then somebody else for Mike Yastrzemski during the offseason. So Yaz would be one of them. I've been saying sign Conforto for about 2 years. Even Roberto Perez, I'd like him as a backup catcher. He's those 2 guys I've liked for about 2 years here, wanting the White Sox to pick up. They're not bad. I get the point, because that's what I thought coming into today's game. I thought, hey, Lance Lynn is going to be able to do well. I thought the White Sox were going to win by 1.5 runs. I'm surprised they've hit 13 home runs, but it's less surprising when you take in the whole picture. They won 170 games in 2021. This isn't a stupid organization. They hit 13 home runs. That's very surprising for all those names on that list. But even Jock Peterson's been trying to be a White Sox, or they've been trying to get him to be a White Sox for about 2 years now. So, yeah, I would love left-handed power, and the Giants have left-handed power, and the White Sox need that.
Got thoroughly outclassed this whole series. Don't take our praising of the Giants as excuses for the White Sox. We are going to shit on them, and they deserve it. And I'm sure in that clubhouse, Pedro's saying, disgusting effort, gentlemen, disgusting effort. But when your starting pitcher, and we give Lance a lot of praise, a lot of it, because he deserves it. But when your starting pitcher goes out there and gives you only 4 2/3 of 8 earned runs and a bunch of walks, you don't have a chance to win. That's really tough. And none of the pitchers in the White Sox staff went even close to the 6th inning. Like Dylan went the farthest with the 5 innings he did yesterday, and that's not going to get it done. So, yeah, it starts with the starting pitcher, and the starting pitchers for the White Sox this series were poor, awful, just bad as hell. So, yeah, I don't know what you guys want. Like, we are crapping on the White Sox. They're terrible. But let's give credit where it's due. The Giants, you think the Pirates are going to do the same thing this weekend? Even if the White Sox pitchers are bad, you think the Pirates are going to extend on them? Maybe. But I think the Giants are slightly better than what the Pirates offer. I think the White Sox just wet the bed today. Today I picked them 8-2 to win. And no, that was just an ass whooping, an old-fashioned country ass whooping the Giants. And maybe, hopefully, this resets the White Sox kind of puffy-chested after the Houston series, and rightfully so. And now they're like, okay, all right, we just got beat badly by a team that we shouldn't get beat badly by. Let's get our stuff together. We got to bring it every single day, not just when we're playing the high Astros. Versus these guys in the Pirates, versus the Houston Astros, and versus these Giants.
And that's the thing. Jared's saying, the thing is, the losses are on the pitching.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
I don't think you're going to see that bad of pitching against the Pirates. I love you, Hector. He's saying Pirates are going to kill the Sox. I don't think so. I don't know. Like, I hope this is a little bit of a humbling, and I hope they just remind, like, hey, all right, this is just a reset. We're going to take it now the next 5 days. We're still in prove-it mode. The White Sox need better pitching. And I don't think Lance Lynn's going to be that bad again. I think he's probably got his one awful start out of the way of the year. I mean, when else have you seen Lance Lynn be that incapable?
Yeah,
in a White Sox uniform. He's really had not that many bad blow-up starts.
No, I mean, when he came back last year out of the IL, he wasn't looking great, but he wasn't this. He was bad back then, but he was just working up to a point, and then he started dominating the second half. This was just not good. And I'm sure when Vinny joins us, Lance is probably going to MF himself. Yeah. Say, I did wrong everywhere. I sucked. You just got to flat out be better than that. I guarantee Lance is going to be saying some words about himself. So, yeah, it's a bad look.
Let's see, 3 home runs against the Cubs in 2021 and 3 in July, both against Minnesota and Oakland. So how many did he give up today? How many home runs did he give up today?
3.
3, okay.
Give up 3 today.
And then also 3 walks, 9 hits. Yeah, this is his ugliest start by far.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't think it's going to be that bad. And Mr. Aguirre saying Pirates did sweep Boston in Boston. I said, I've been down on Boston. You've seen Boston starting pitching? I mean, it's not good. Like, the White Sox in the upcoming series, and we'll take a break in just a sec, but the White Sox have Rich Hill tomorrow.
Dick Mountain.
They have Vince Velasquez on Saturday.
Fork and knife. Let's eat.
And then on Sunday, they have Johan Oviedo, who I don't even think is starter.
That sounds like a shutout for Johan Oviedo. I've never heard of him.
Johan Oviedo has not pitched more than 62 1/3 innings in his career. So I don't think that he will make it deep enough to shut down the White Sox. Maybe they get 3 innings out of him.
Yeah, and you know the old White Sox adage. Once they haven't seen a hitter or a pitcher, that pitcher comes in and throws at least 6 innings of 3-hit ball, giving up no runs on that Sunday in Pittsburgh. But I'm going to be there giving you guys a in-person look at what the White Sox are going to do versus these Pirates. That pitching staff doesn't seem like it's going to do anything versus the White Sox. And it's up to the White Sox hitters to take advantage of that and not, too late and allowing the game to come to them. The first inning with the White Sox, where Lance Lynn just gave up a couple runs, that is on the onus of Tim, on Luis, on the top of the hitters to say, all right, we got your back. Yes, you gave up a couple runs, but we're going to let you know that it's all good. But there's a couple at bats. I think Tim let the first one go. Luis let the first pitch go and then let the third pitch go right by him, both of them on strikes. You got to attack this guy who was on the bump today. Alex Wood is no damn good. He was giving you fat pitches, and they didn't punish him enough. Same thing that has to happen tomorrow with Dick Mountain. Same type of pitcher, lefty, slow, will throw you a knuckle curve every once in a while. You gotta attack him and make sure he pays for his mistakes.
And it won't get on you as fast either.
No,
I think they're gonna have an easier time with Dick Mountain tomorrow. I really hope for the best for the Sox tomorrow because I think they can work him. Johan Oviedo, I was a little bit wrong on him. He's gone deep a little bit. He's been a bullpen arm, but he might go 4. I mean, it depends on how quickly they get to him. His first start, Boston hit 3 home runs on him. So, hey, that'd be nice. Hopefully the White Sox can do that. They're a professional ball club, right? I'm just waiting for this White Sox team to wake up, and it'd be nice for them to hit home runs. Last home run was Luis Robert in the home opener, right?
In a game that was already blown out.
Right.
But it's good for Luis to do that, to get his stroke right. The bat still counts, but to only hit 1 home run where the opposing team hits 13 in that same series. Obviously, the ball is flying out, so obviously the White Sox are doing something wrong offensively too. So if they gave up 13 home runs, I expect at minimum to be in that same 8-9 home runs in that series because the wind was blowing out, the balls were flying out, and the White Sox nah, we're good. Ground balls all day. That's how you win.
Our man Stephen Nicholas, we'll end this on this stat here, and then we'll take a break. Lynn had 19 walks last year. He has 7 through 2 starts this year. Not good.
That doesn't play.
That's not bad. No, that's not great. But then we also saw him the stretch last year go 72 innings pitched with 6 walks. So he's a guy that can clean it up and clean it up completely. So I'm not too worried about him, but we'll see. We want to let you know about Fubo TV. Fubo TV has 140 live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. Go to FuboTV.com/CHGO. A lot of vowels in
Yes.
in that URL. You can stream live TV from any device, watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price, and you can start watching immediately with a 7-day free trial. There's no contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. You have over 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge, and you can watch local teams while traveling. Right now, today is the first day of the NCAA tournament on ESPN News, ESPN2, and ESPN News, the Frozen Four for all of the college hockey action you want on Fubo TV. You can also watch the White Sox on NBC Sports Chicago with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description below to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. Also want to let you know about Goose Island. Give a honk honk. Your little Goose Island, 312-312 for your mom. Yep. CHGO is supported by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer company since 1988. Their beer company includes the 312, the Bull City 312, which matches the 2022-2023 City Edition uniform of the Chicago Bears. The Bourbon County Stout, which Kevin wants you to chug. The Beer Hug IPA series, which you did chug.
Three of them.
Green Line, Matilda, and Sophie. You missed out on the 10%er, though.
It was still in the package. I drank it later.
Well, you'll do it
slowly.
You'll do it tonight to go to sleep before your long trip to Pittsburgh. And also, we got the event coming up on the 27th and 28th over at Joe's on Wheat Street for the CHGO Bears Draft Party. So make sure you are heading over to allchgo.com and checking out tickets. Diehards, your tickets are discounted with your membership. So make sure you are checking out and going over to the draft party on Wheat Street. It should be a blast with Goose Island. And Goose Island's 2 locations are open and ready to welcome you. Grab a beer right from their innovative tanks at Goose Island's Tap Room at 1800 West Fulton, or get a smash burger and fresh beer of the week at the original Clybourne Brew House at 1800 North Clybourne. That's right over by Wheat Street. For reservations and pickup, go to gooseisland.com/locations. Goose Island Beer Company. Let's go over to Guaranteed Rate Field. That's the opposite direction of 1800 North Clybourne. We're going over to 35th and Shields. Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, he's got a brand new post up at ALLCITY talking about the new platoon between Gavin Sheets and Jake Berger. And look at Sarah flashing the little screenshot of Vinnie's article. That is free and unlocked for all of you to go reads. So why not? Vinny, why don't you plug the little article here, because Jake Berger smashed 116 off the bat. I'm excited to see that against Rich Hill tomorrow.
Listen, guys, I don't think anybody ever doubted that Jake Berger could hit. It's just a matter of whether he could find himself in the lineup. So now that he's in that lineup, occasionally, at least, going to be there against left-handed pitching, as Gavin Sheets gets kind of the at-bats against righties. And look, we saw it even in the game today, right? A left-handed starter, and then later in the game, they bring in a right-handed reliever. Gavin Sheets pinch hits for Jake Berger, even though Jake Berger had himself a double and that laser that you mentioned there. This is how they're going to do it. Pedro loves the matchups. Pedro loves the numbers, and the numbers back that up. So you'll see Sheets and Berger in that DH platoon, it seems, moving forward until Eloy comes off the IL. But I think the main takeaway, too, is that Eloy might not be on the IL very long. It just seems like maybe it will be closer to 10 days than 3 weeks, just the way they're talking about him today, be it Pedro or Eloy himself, who told us he feels good. He feels really good. He said if he wasn't unavailable due to being on the injured list, he would have volunteered to pinch hit today. So he feels real good compared to how he felt later on Monday. And Pedro can't talk enough about how, the work that Eloy did this offseason, kind of putting him in the position to recover quickly from this. If Eloy maybe hadn't done all that working out to get down 25 pounds, maybe this would be a longer stay than it is. But I think right now, at least from Pedro's perspective, the fact that he did all that work has kind of set him up for a quick injured list stay.
And Vinny, I know due to the circumstances of the game, it might not have been asked, but I really, really like that Pedro Grifol in the 4th inning went with Gavin Sheets in a pinch hit role when they took out Wood. That tells me that the guy knows when the game is hanging in the balance, and it doesn't matter if it's, the 4th inning, the 7th inning, and if you come through right there, which Gavin walked right there, that would have been the difference in that game. So was he asked about why he made that move so early, and, what was his answer if he did?
He was not, but I think you can apply what was said pregame, which is, or I guess it was mostly postgame yesterday when he mentioned the word platoon. And here you go. We saw it in the starting lineups both yesterday and today. Yesterday against the left or against the righty, it's Gavin. Yeah, today against the lefty, it's Berger. So I think he's not going to be afraid to play that lefty-righty platoon. You saw it on opening day too when Oscar Colas was pinch hit when he pinch hit for Romy Gonzalez late in that game. So I don't think the situation is going to dictate. Oh, it's too early to get rid of a starting player. I think he's going to go with what he wants to go with.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it continues too. I mean, hey, maybe Jake Berger just keeps it in the cover off the ball too.
Just not removed from the lineup.
Yeah, they can't take his hot bat out. He even Eloy gets benched. Maybe that's what I'm picturing. Okay, all right, fine. Enough of the hyperbole. And I agree with Stephen Nicholas. Let's get the likes up for these guys. Why not? We got beat writer coverage. He's at the ballpark. Was Lance Lynn just joyed and overzealous to talk to you today?
I mean, what do you think?
No.
I'll go ahead and I'll pull in Eloy Jimenez and look at you and go, yeah, what do you think? Asking me that yes or no question.
Is there a bug going around in the locker room?
What do you mean?
Dylan was sick, so I didn't know if maybe Lance caught what Dylan got.
No, I think he maybe caught what Michael Kopech had on Monday in terms of giving up home runs. But no, Lance, always quick with the one-liner. He called today a piss-poor day. He was not pleased with his outing at all. Certainly when a starting pitcher, especially a veteran one, does not even make it 5 innings, their reaction is going to be quite negative, and indeed it was. The reaction for the series from Lance Lynn, from Pedro Grifol, from Sebi Zavala, from Tim Anderson, who we all talked to after the game, was, the Giants really obliterated every single mistake that White Sox pitching made in these 3 games. I think the takeaway there is you can't make so many mistakes, but you got to expect any big league lineup. I mean, this is a team that came in after playing that series with the Yankees. They were shut out twice by the Yankees in their first 3 games of the season. Then they come in here and launch 13 home runs in 3 days. You can't make that many mistakes if you're White Sox pitching. Sebi said it flat out. We didn't pitch well in this series, and boy, is that true. Dylan Cease, who gave up a home run yesterday, who gave up one of these 13 home runs, ended up being the guy who kind of held things together the most. My goodness, obviously Michael Kopech, Lance Lynn struggled today, and Jose Ruiz in 2 relief appearances in this series gave up 3 home runs, which you do not want to see from a relief pitcher. It's one thing, when you're a starting pitcher and you have the bulk of innings and batters faced where, back-to-back games, 3 home runs, it's not great, but it can happen. A reliever, 3 home runs in 2 appearances is not good. And I think, obviously you saw the effects of Hanser Alberto pitching, twice in a series. You can call it ridiculous, whatever you want, but it's just the concentration of those appearances twice in 3 games, and then he gives up a grand slam late in this one. It got out of hand, and the Giants are not a team that's being picked to go very far this season, and here it is. So obviously this is early. It's as Pedro said today, Herb, I think you would appreciate this summary because you're Mr. April games count too. He said, you know what? These games all count, but this is just one. It is just one. And I think he was talking about saving his bullpen, talking about making the pitching decisions he did with his eye on this weekend. Not that you're punting a game, but my goodness, it's one game when you've got to set up all the rest. They could have brought in all their guys today if they really wanted to, Graveman and Lopez and Kelly and all those guys. But they got games that they can win this weekend in Pittsburgh, and I think they're looking at that. So it was a bad day. It was bad 2 days out of these last 3 that they played at home. And I think Lance Lynn's summary, piss poor, is probably the way that you've got to look at this one. The good news, I guess, is that it's 1 of 162 and not any more than that.
And I know that the actual run total says 6, but we all understand it was 3 runs they scored today because that was Matt Beattie in the 9th inning. Did any of the people speak about?
Does that mean Herb that the Giants get 4 or so wiped away from them too?
Yes. Yeah. They still kicked the White Sox ass. So 12-3 was the final score. But I think that the players, as we talk about the Giants executing and hitting every mistake, the White Sox had the same thing, and they didn't really hit anybody's mistake. That they talk about, and I know the focus will be pitching sucked this series, but the hitting And the timely hitting wasn't there also this series. Did they talk about bats needing to execute or pick up their pitchers when they're not on their stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the game situation probably dictated that wasn't what they were thinking about so much. You know what I mean? When you look up and you got a 10-run, deficit there, it's showing that the pitching was just absolutely hammered. And had this been a 3-run game or a 4-run game, then yeah, that explanation that you gave is perfectly valid. It's like, hey, you guys should be expected to go out and get 3-4 runs to make up for this. Like, that's all right. But when it's just home run, and this team is beaten down pretty early on, as it was on Monday as well, it's hard to summon not that fight, because I think you saw it. They went out and scored 3 runs in the ninth inning, but just the idea that the blame goes all around. You can certainly say that it did. I don't think you'd be wrong in this series, but on a day like today, in really Monday, I think it was the same thing. It's the pitchers. It's the pitchers failing to get the job done to even give them the chance. We talked so much about guys giving the team a chance to win, right? I mean, you go out there and you give up. Maybe you can even give up 4 or 5 runs if you're a starting pitcher, and you can give your team a chance to win. They can be within striking distance. You go up, you as a pitching staff go out and give up 16 or 12, if you want to call it that. You're not really doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you pulled the Ed Farmer in. The Sox need 10.
Need 13 to tie.
The Sox need 13 to tie. It just seems insurmountable. And it's definitely what we were doing last year. You win 60, you lose 60. A clear loss. I mean, you don't lose games clearer than this by 10, just flat out. It doesn't help the run differential, which looked ugly last year. But, hey, just got to brush it off and maybe hammer the Pittsburgh Pirates in the upcoming series. How do we feel coming into the Pittsburgh Pirates series? Again, Giolito versus Hill, Clevenger versus Velasquez, Kopech versus Oviedo. I think I've been saying Oviedo, so let's roll with Oviedo.
Doesn't matter. It's not going to work here anymore.
Johan Oviedo. We put up a comment from Wayne earlier kind of saying, we're hopeful, right? They go 2-2. They split against the Astros, but this whole motto of this team's been prove it. They're not going to be proving it after 7 games, right, Vinny?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the idea is that it's 7 games. I mean, it's a 7 games of 162. If you are looking for a team to come out and write its story for the entire season in the first week, you're not going to get it. And that's good, bad, or anything in between. How many teams... And I'm not even talking about excuses like, oh my God, remember when the Braves were in 4th place at the All-Star break and they went on to win the World Series. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about go find a team that finished with the best record in baseball history and point to me that you knew that they were going to do that after 7 games. Nobody did. So I don't think we're making any grand generalizations here. I think what we can say is, boy, that pitching looked bad. Good thing they get to go to a team that's not very good and pitch the next 3 days, because they got to get it back on track. There's no doubt about that. There are many other things going on here. Obviously, you've got the Eloy injury. How are they going to continue to hit without arguably their best hitter in the middle of the lineup for the next couple of weeks? Are the hot starts going to continue? Yohan Moncada, Luis Robert Jr., are we going to see those guys continue to hit? TA continue to hit? So it's just about watching. You keep watching the games and you see what's going on. I don't know if you're going to see any big grand conclusions that we can draw after just 7 games, but keep your eye on what's been happening. See if it either A, continues, or B, stops, and that's both in positive and negative categories. Sorry for so many, big generalizations there that nobody likes to hear. Everybody wants a definitive statement, but them's the breaks, because that's baseball for you.
And they lost this series, and it's very bad. And I know you fans out there like us, it hurts, and you've gone back to 2022, and I don't blame you for feeling that way, but I implore you to stay with this team, because I don't think that they're the same team, and old habits will die hard. So it won't just be magic wand, Pedro Grifol team starts winning. And remember this, wins versus Pittsburgh count the same amount as wins versus the Houston Astros and or San Francisco Giants. So go out, sweep to the Pittsburgh Pirates this week. It's not forgotten, but it's also, okay, we can go into Minnesota and try to beat those guys and right the ship in Pittsburgh versus a lesser team. I think no one would disagree that the Pittsburgh Pirates are a lesser team. They go out and get swept or lose 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh, then you could say, hey, man, what the hell is going on out here? So
Well, yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
I think the main thing too is like you just said, Herb. I mean, dude, if they go sweep the Pirates this weekend, which I don't think anybody would think is out of the realm of possibility, then all of a sudden they're 6-4, and you're like, oh, here we go, hot streak. Everything's looking good. They're over 500 going to Minnesota. I mean, it's just if you everybody wants to look at that record and say you are what your record says you are, kind of thing. Well, yeah, but this is a sport that lasts 6 months. And if you're going to say, yeah, the White Sox are what their record says they are after 7 games, but what does that tell us about what they're going to be in August or September, let alone May, let alone next week? You know what I mean? So I think listen, you watch your team give up 13 home runs in 3 games. I can understand that you're not very happy about that, nor should you be. But go ahead and wait to decide whether or not you're going to follow this team all the way through after a little bit more than just 7 games.
Did Pedro's, this is my thoughts, that Pedro gave Yohan a blow today just because of getting hit on the foot yesterday, and it's better to just, have him rest and then go versus the Pirates tomorrow, which he'll be facing another lefty, or just give him a blow?
Yeah, nothing to do with the foul ball. That was our assumption kind of when we saw it. We asked him, and nope, nothing to do with the foul ball, just a day off. It really seems like guys are going to get days off. I know fans don't like that either, but that's how baseball works these days. And Pedro Grifol seems to have a strategy in place to make sure that his players are getting days off on a fairly regular basis, so they do not get worn out. And he said it was an important part of their strategy for keeping these guys on the field. So you're going to see guys get days off here and there. He said, and maybe he picked, not the greatest day to say it, but he did say that an important part of that is making sure that not all the guys are out of the lineup at the same time. I do think there were about 3 or 4 regulars off today, so maybe that was not the best time to unleash that one. But I think what he means is that they're going to try to make sure that they can still have the best lineup they can every day of that they're playing while still getting guys days off. It's a balance. And, you've heard other managers, be they Tony La Russa or Rick Renneria, you've heard them try to say the same thing. And I think Pedro says it when Pedro talks about it. He talks about maybe or revealing a little bit of data that they have back, not what that data is, but that they're looking at data and that they have a plan, that they're monitoring all what these guys can do. And they're hoping to kind of abide by that strategy as they move along here.
Yeah, and people bringing up in the chat, Sox were 6-2 last year. We obviously know that the seasons aren't defined in April. We could just say that, we're not taking in too much here, and I don't think you're going to get this bad of pitching performances each and every night from Lance Lynn and Michael Kopech.
And yeah,
right?
If it was, you could worry the hell out of everything if this is with the White Sox pitchers.
The hitting's shown up, which has been at least somewhat promising. And this was one of their worst days. They really weren't getting a lot of elevation and lift on the ball today. This is one of their worst days for fly balls and line drives. I think they've had 4 games with 10+, which is pretty good. So hopefully they can continue that versus Pittsburgh coming up. We're going to take a quick break, talk about our main takeaways from this series, and then wrap it up, put a bow on it. Got to let you know, though, Chicago, you've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams. That's us, CHGO. So get fitted in the best sports gear round. Foco has you covered with hoodies.
Spilled some water here.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
You all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm just wet. I'm not going to melt. I'm not a witch.
You can go get a new shirt at Foco.
I could.
Foco's got you covered from Soldier Field to the Front Troop, north or south side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get decked out like DeMar with apparel from the leaders in sports merch and collectibles. Foco, if you're looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life, Foco's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. So check out Foco.com. That's FOCO.com, or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. They sent us 2 lovely bobbleheads, Southpaw and TA. They're on the main set right now, but they are awesome and would be a lovely addition to any man cave. Also want to let you know about Shady Rays. I have 2 pairs. Herb has 2 pairs. Vinny has a pair, and Sarah has a pair, and she loves them. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventure. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one. They told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. So wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized shades. Try yourself these shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Again, shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO, 50% off 2 or more polarized shades. Let's go to our main takeaways. Justin Whale saying his main takeaway is that Cease is our only pitcher worth anything. Again, have we even seen Lucas Giolito twice? Let's slow it down, guys. Let's slow the roll. All right, we're just getting through the first 7 games. My biggest takeaway, let's start with Vinny. Vinny, what is your biggest takeaway?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway from this series is you can't give up that many home runs, but we wanted to have a little variety in here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, go back to TA getting ejected yesterday. And Herb, you said it while we were on, you were one of several people who I saw talk about, oh, he can't do that. He's taking himself out of the game. He's hurting his team by not getting out there. Pedro Grifol doesn't look at it that way. Pedro Grifol says, hey, if he can keep playing with that energy and with that attitude, with that passion, then we'll welcome anything that comes of it. He says he plays with a little bit of edge. The White Sox need it. The White Sox want it. The organization wants it. Pedro wants it. So this is something the White Sox do not want TA to change. And if it's going to result in him getting ejected every once in a while, I think it's been 8 times now in his career, then that's okay. They'll live with a few innings without him due to the ejection. If it means that he's there to fire up his teammates every other time that he's allowed in that dugout. So, certainly what you're talking about mirrors, the comments that have been made about Eloy, in the outfield, hey, you can't keep doing this kind of thing in the outfield. You're hurting your team by taking yourself out of the game. I get that. It's reasonable. It's logical. But the White Sox are saying, hey, we want TA to be TA. And if that comes with a little bit of downtime because of having to leave a little early, we'll take that anytime we can get it because it means the rest of the time we're getting that emotion, we're getting that energy. So I'll let Herb talk about all the home runs that were given up and all the walks that were issued and all the pitching problems that the White Sox had this series. I'll go ahead and chime in with TA there, even though he said he didn't want to talk about it anymore and he didn't want it to be a 2-day story. Sorry, TA, I'm bringing it up again, but there you go.
My takeaway, good hitters will make you pay, and that's what the Giants did. Patience. 21 walks in the 3-game set, 7. That's 7 per game, Sean. I did the math on that.
Wow, look at you.
The White Sox, on the other hand, only 8 in the 3-game set. So the Giants almost matched their average with the White Sox in the whole series. And then the 13 home runs by the Giants batters. So whenever a mistake was made, for the most part, the Giants punished those balls. That's what the White Sox have to see and say, okay, yeah, they can do that, and our pitching staff was not great today or this whole series, but we can also punish a couple pitchers that are fat in the zone. Their pitchers today, Wood wasn't that great. Junis was good, but he wasn't great. He was just pitching the same slider the White Sox were just flailing at. So many times, so many White Sox hitters were stepping in the bucket trying to pull that ball. That ball's in the outside corner. Serve it. You saw earlier in the 4th inning where a couple White Sox hitters served the ball to right field. That should have been their approach, but they were stepping in the bucket trying to hit 4-run home runs with nobody on base versus Junis. So their approach needs to be better, and when they get a fat pitch, middle, they need to punish it like the Giants did. And you saw this whole series, the Giants were patient at the plate, and those turned into runs immediately. 21 walks is unacceptable.
Yeah, and, when I bring up hard hits, it is for a reason, folks. I'm not trying to, bring it up for, my own reasons. I don't know, personal gain. The White Sox had 5 100-mile-per-hour exit velocities today. The Giants had 14.
Oh, that place.
That's pretty good. Usually when you hit the ball hard, good things happen, folks. So I would like the White Sox to hit the ball harder. That's nice, but I would also like to see lefty pop. It was making me kind of sick. Blake Sable, Mike Yastrzemski, Michael Conforto. All people I've brought up for the White Sox to pick. Blake Sable was a Rule 5 pick. He was available. The Pirates just were letting him walk, and he smashes one off of Lance Lynn. Michael Conforto, that man was a free agent for 2+ years. White Sox could have had him for change.
Yeah. Tyrone Palmer, one of the people on Twitter, said, man, when we were talking last year about Michael Conforto hitting a bunch of home runs at guaranteed rate, we weren't thinking about this.
Right.
Yeah, I think you sounded the alarm initially about Michael Conforto in the 2021 season or for 2022. And I was right along with you after you said it. I was like, okay, that does sound good. And then this offseason, we were all looking at Michael Conforto as like, that would be a perfect fit for the White Sox right field position or left field position. And he showed out today that he can hit in guaranteed rate, especially when you throw him a middle fastball and he rocks it.
And don't forget, back in December, I was ready to trade Gavin Sheets, Jimmy Lambert, and Cole Seamus for Mike Yastrzemski, all right? I want lefty pop, and here comes Andrew Benintendi finally getting an extra base hit at home, and it's off of Matt Beattie. I mean,
hey,
come on.
Counts in the press box on the box score.
Yeah, it
Tomorrow's
does.
gonna be like, man, he hit off of those guys in the Giants. Man, look at the Andrew Benintendi.
Little boxes, all the same. This is the sixth time the White Sox at home, or at least this home since 1991, have given up 10 or more home runs. The most they've given up in a 3-game series, 13. They gave up 10 to the Royals back in September 2019. They gave up 10 to the Mariners back in April 2019. That was one of the Yo-No's clutch games. For that series. Back in 2017 in September, they gave up 10 home runs to Cleveland. Against Detroit in 2004, they gave up 10 home runs. In Kansas City in April in 2004, they gave up 10 home runs. They won all of those games, though. And then in 1999 in June against Baltimore, lost all 3, giving up 10 home runs.
Albert Bell's Baltimore Orioles in 1999.
What was it?
Yeah.
Look at that. Did you hit a home run?
Probably.
B.J. Surhoff, Brady Anderson, Harold Baines for the other team, and Albert Bell. A 2-for-1. Albert Bell and Harold Baines getting at the pale host.
If Albert Bell wasn't such a tool, he would be in the Hall of Fame. His numbers were right.
Was he using any creams? Like,
yeah, he was definitely doing steroids.
Fernando Tatis?
And cork bats. He was cheating his ass off, but I don't think that matters, right, David Ortiz?
No. 9 straight shows we've done. So we have gotten off the season right. 7 games, 9 shows, 2 off-day shows. Vinny, what's your biggest takeaway after the start of the season? Yeah, just happy baseball's back?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That offseason felt like it lasted forever. And it was cold this morning when I got to the ballpark. I think it's much nicer now outside when I'll leave. But looking ahead to next week, it's going to be in the 70s. It's going to hit 80 at some point next week. Let's go. Summer's back. Come on.
My biggest takeaway is, I'm glad baseball's back. I'm glad I'm traveling to Pittsburgh, even though this team isn't playing the way it should be. But I love that ballpark. I love that city. And I hope the White Sox right the ship before it's too late. Because, yes, you cannot win a season series, or a season in April. But you can definitely lose it, especially versus teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who you think are also rants. Just went to Boston and got a sweep there. Now they're 4-2, looking for a little bit more hunger, or a little bit more meat here, and their home opener this week. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates are a formidable task, and the White Sox need to bring their A game. As we see, they can get aired out by a team that you don't think is that good.
Yeah,
easily.
Well, and just real quick, Boston did lose 2 of those games by only scoring 1 run, so that's the issue. Hopefully the White Sox don't score 1 run twice on the Pirates pitching. I'd be pretty sad if they did that. And, Cutter Crawford giving up 7 earned runs in a start won't help your chances to win. Exactly. Nick Pivetta giving up 2 home runs against the Pirates won't help. I mean, that's their best pitcher is Nick Pivetta. Corey Kluber, he went 5 innings against the Pirates and did well, but I mean, that's like Corey Kluber. Like that's not Klubot. That's not Cleveland Corey Kluber. I don't know. I feel like the White Sox. I feel pretty good about the Sox going into Pittsburgh. Coming up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see Herb at PNC, hit him up.
Say what's up.
Vinny and I will be in studio on Sunday, April 9th for Postgame. So we'll wrap up this series, the Pirates series, with a bow. Interesting to watch Vince Velasquez on Saturday versus the White Sox. Be interesting to see Mike Clevenger again in a start for the White Sox. How does Lucas Giolito pitch in his second start this year? A lot of different storylines. Anything you guys watching out for specifically in this Pirates series?
See if they can keep hitting, and I think that makes sense. I mean, listen, the number of hits that they've racked up so far, that's a good sign, right? We came into the season saying, what's this offense going to do? Have they fixed the offense? What's the offense going to do? Probably would still like to see those power numbers be a little bit higher. I would imagine the White Sox would, but you gotta take the good where you can get it, and they've been knocking out plenty of hits. So I think Pittsburgh Pirates pitching is probably not the most ideal in the league. So I think if the White Sox can take care of that, they'll have a good weekend. I would expect them to have a good weekend. But hey, that's why they play the games, isn't it?
I'm looking for the White Sox starters to go into the sixth inning, not necessarily finish because it's 3, 4, 5, but go into the sixth inning. The bullpen has been overworked so far, so these starters have to take it on themselves to execute their pitches correctly and get into the sixth inning so you can set up your bullpen correctly with the players that you want, like a Joe Kelly, a Graveman, and Raylo Lopez there. So that is the task that Lucas, Mike Clevenger, and then it's Dylan Cease again. No, Mike Kopech have in front of him, and then let Michael Kopech start on Sunday. A bounce back for him. He needs to execute his pitches and get more than he did last time. If Pittsburgh's launching off of you, then we got problems.
Then we got problems. If
Real
Pittsburgh's
problems.
launching off of you, then you got real problems. Absolutely. The one thing I just want to see from the White Sox is home run. Again, lefty pop, righty pop. Give me some pop. We've seen some pop from TA, but I'd like to see him go deep. Rich Hill, since 2019, has given up 51 home runs. Sebi Zavala, keep the scouting reports on Vince Velasquez. Let's know what he likes to do, and let's share that with Luis Robert Jr.
I think you bring up Yasmani Grandal. That's a good candidate for a water shot out there in Pittsburgh.
Ooh.
That's a
Oscar
tall
Colas
task.
is first.
If I had to pick, I think I'd pick Yasmani. It's just they're a little bit more majestic. I think he could deposit one into the river there. Which one of the three is that, Herb? Is that the Ohio, the Allegheny, or the Monongahela?
The Allegheny behind right field in Pittsburgh.
I just like
not the Monongahela.
Yeah,
Monongahela.
I don't know Rivers. I can't go toe to toe with Rivers.
There's
with
three
you
of
guys.
them.
Oh, is there? Is that? Oh, is that why you used to call it Three Rivers Stadium?
Yeah.
That's something.
I like Vinny's alliteration there too. Pittsburgh Pirate pitching.
Pittsburgh Pirate pitching. Vince Velasquez, Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher.
It's on a card.
Got to
We
laminate
trade him
it.
Peyton Paulette to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yuck. Shout out to Shea Fidel saying at least we got Sean, Herb, and Vinny with the super chat. We appreciate you. And thank you, Matthew Lucas, the Fans Therapy Chat, to listen to good content while expressing our frustration. Hey, we're frustrated with the first 7 games, but again, they got, what? My rough math, 150-something. That's about accurate. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at AcnerWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Sarah Fichter for producing the show. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with this chat. We got 34 likes. Why not to get Frank Thomas at 35? So make sure you hit that thumbs up. We'll be with you post-game on Sunday after the White Sox take on the Pirates at 12:35.